Hello and welcome to this webinar on dynamic pricing for e-commerce. My name is Mitch Spears with Buyer Foresight. I'm an advisor to Analytics2Go and will serve as the host of today's presentation. Please feel free to submit any questions in the chat window during our presentation. We will take some of those questions at the end of our panelists' comments. Our purpose today is to introduce you to the benefits of using AI to continually optimize your online pricing for improved revenue and margins. So you'll hear about how the final dynamic pricing solution for Mobley was delivered through a collaboration between Analytics2Go and their partner Rulex.ai. The day-to-day pricing algorithms are run on the Rulex platform, while Analytics2Go provides business domain and data science expertise, as well as ongoing customer service for the solution. Today, we'll share details of the solution and the importance of that collaboration. Victor Noda, Mobley's CEO, will offer his account of the project, the problem he needed to solve, and the benefits and difficulties Mobley experienced during the development of their dynamic pricing solution. Federico Salviti, SVP at Rulex, will be talking about how Rulex's logic learning engine creates a rule bot for each customer using a relatively small amount of historical sales data, and how that rule bot continually generates optimized price recommendations that can be explained to the pricing team. A2Go's Chief Analytics Officer, Danilo Pereira, will explain a couple of hurdles the team had to clear while implementing the Mobley solution, including the need to group products into categories and other fine-tuning of the solution. We're letting you see behind the scenes here to emphasize that every business is unique and will require some level of support initially for optimal results. Finally, A2Go's Chief Technology Officer, Stephen Hudson, will summarize some ingredients for success and share some tips and tricks you can use to get started on your own journey to making better decisions with better analytics. Let's turn now to Victor Noda, the CEO of Mobley, the largest online furniture retailer in Brazil. He has been very involved in following the progress of this initiative at his company. Victor?
Hi, everyone. This is Victor. It's a real pleasure to be speaking to everyone here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of the case that we just had, and hopefully it can be of help to everyone. So just to give you a little bit of context, Mobley, as Mitch mentioned, is the largest online furniture player in Brazil. We have over 240,000 active SKUs on the website. We do around 85% of our sales online, so it's really mostly an e-commerce business. And so that you understand a little bit of our market dynamic, around 60% of the purchase decision from customers is due to pricing. So this is by far the most important element in the purchase decision here in Brazil for our customers. And it's followed by shipping cost, which in the end is also some sort of pricing, as well as delivery times. So pricing has always been a big focus of the company, and making sure that we are at the same time maximizing sales, but on the other hand, not losing too much on margin. And this has always been a big effort from both our category management teams as well as our data sciences teams to try to tackle and optimize this challenge. However, the biggest challenge that we had, as I mentioned, was the huge amount of SKUs that we have, and the fact that it's humanly impossible to look at all of them and work on them on a manual basis and have the same care for each product that we were able to have for the top sellers, very carefully on a daily basis and understanding where to optimize. But we knew we were leaving a lot of money on the table by not optimizing the whole thing. So what we decided is that we needed to find a solution that used artificial intelligence or machine learning to help us tackle this. And developing something in-house for us was a real challenge, because we also faced the problem that many of the products did not have enough data which we could work on them with a more basic statistical models. So we started looking and we came across Analytics2Go with Mike Romeri and his team. And we really liked their approach. So they, instead of trying to push us into an off-the-shelf type of a model, category behaved, how each SKU influenced the sales and margins of other SKUs, and really trying to come up with a model that really addressed all of the dynamics within our market. And by doing this, and we spent a lot of time working on this model, they came with very creative solutions, like clustering products within a category in order to maximize profit of the category as a whole and not of individual products, mainly because of what we saw, that there was a lot of influence between one product to the other. And I believe Danilo will go further into details of this. And we had a very hands-on approach with them. So they worked together with our data science team to collect the data that we found was more significant, and try to calibrate the model to come up with better results. And in the end, what we saw is that we were able to get very clear positive uplift in some categories, but not so much in other categories. So we were having trouble trying to really understand what were the factors that were influencing one category to work well and the other one not so well. So Analytics2Go, they brought in Rulex, which was another company that they knew, and worked on a different approach of artificial intelligence and machine learning, in which they can provide a lot of transparency to their model. And when we started working with Rulex as well, they had the same approach as Analytics2Go, so very custom made and deep diving to understand the problem. And what we gained from this exercise with them was the fact that it was now becoming clear to us what were the factors and the rules that the model was considering for each category, so that we could understand what was influencing the performance, the different performance in each of them. And one of the biggest outcomes that this transparency gave to us was that we had some categories that were clearly more influenced by the types of campaigns that we were running on them, either discounts or communication or any sort of promotions, while other categories not so much, and they were much more influenced by what our competitors were doing. So, how do we compare to competitors in terms of pricing or delivery times and any other factor that we found was relevant. And that allowed us to create a hybrid model that was taking the best from what we saw on the original model with Analytics2Go and optimizing the categories and the profit. But on the other hand, this model automatically switched between a model that used more of a competitor's prices as an input, while into other categories it used more of a campaign-driven pricing for the categories. And the result was that was really really good, and we got a 7.5% uplift on a daily profit. So we are really happy with the work and the fact that we were able to work on all hands together with them and come up with a custom solution that provided a lot of value to the company. And I'll let the next speaker speak now.
Excellent. Thanks, Victor. Let me remind our viewers to send any questions that you have for Victor or anyone else by chat. Next, we'll hear from Federico Salviti, Senior VP of Marketing and Sales at Rulex. He'll be explaining the explainable AI functionality of Rulex's platform methodology, as well as its reliance on business rules generated by client data. Federico?
Here I am. With this kind of introduction, I have the impression almost I'm going to speak about algorithms and all sorts of esoteric kind of mathematical images that you might have in your mind. Well, that's not going to be the case, or at least it's not going to be the case in this specific circumstance, because then we're going to have let's say, a fireside chat when we talk about the more, let's say, the detail, when we can go into the detail of it. There are so many points that Victor made that I think are absolutely outstanding. At least it's for me, it's brilliant to be able to speak after somebody says that we help them increase their daily profits by 7.5%. It's absolutely fantastic. Victor, you also talked very eloquently about what you're trying to do at the very beginning and the complexity of managing what you had in mind. What you had in mind was based on campaign to start with, and then you started to look also at competition. But the management of all that data and all those the people that contribute to feeding that data can be rather daunting. And so I like how you had amazing ideas, you had an amazing vision, you were an extremely driven guy. You partner with Analytics2Go that are absolutely outstanding, and they really think out of the box. And I think that you touched on a very good point in the collaboration with this collaboration between the three of us, the hands-on approach. If I was to tell you what I often hear our clients talk about when it comes to dynamic pricing, they will tell you that you need the right technology and that you need the right external data to come up with it, which is very fair. It's a very fair point. When it comes to external data, like for example with the team and Analytics2Go team, they're spot on from that perspective. When it comes to hands-on, though, there is something that it took me a little while to understand what people meant when they talk about technology. You need the right technology that helps you collaborate, because if it's not conducive to collaboration, you cannot do the hands-on that we're talking about. Why? How many ideas were flying in the meeting room, virtual, unfortunately, meeting rooms that we were working at all the time? We were coming out with different scenarios, different data, different things all the time. And in order for us to accomplish something like this, let's say the beauty to an extent that Rulex had to offer is that it's designed to make sure that everyone contributes and understands the same language. So I don't know what your experience is, but in the past, I very seldom saw business experts, product process leaders, IT, and data scientists speak a common language. And this is one of the things that we brought to the table. And I think that the context of collaboration with the process that we bring to make sure that we can all use the technology correctly was extremely beneficial to understand what was expected from everyone on the team. And so we really worked well in some sort of a Gantt system where we had, first of all, we have all the data in one place. How important is that? That's extremely important because we save so much time by having all the data in one place. Then we fuse the data together in something that makes it coherent and usable, and it can all be done on the same platform extremely fast. Again, saves time, is reliable. Then what we did, we did the rule extraction, and we started teaching the machine, teaching the software, the data features that we wanted. So let me give you just a rough example. I don't know. I think in averages. I think that my entire team discusses things in averages. And so I want the machine to provide me with results that are expressed in averages. And the next step further, which I personally have never seen done by anybody else, even in my previous experiences, is the ability to add that layer that you referred to, which is the hybrid model that you referred to. which is this fourth step. The logic learning machine that complements human knowledge by spotting rules that otherwise would have been invisible to the naked eye. This is extremely important. And the fifth step is the connections room, in the sense that whenever we as a group decided, okay, this is the approach that we're going to have, this is what the logic learning machine suggested that we should also add, and we agree to it, let's click on OK, boom, everything is immediately live into the system, which is absolutely brilliant. So what happens is that what I just described to you, this slide I think is particularly cool because it's a bit of a before and after show, right? On the left, you will see everything that I have been exposed to in the past, which is working with leaders. I am one of the people that I call this death by Python, in the sense that I have to be honest with you, even though I teach at NYU, and I'm a professor of marketing and business management, there are certain things that for me are just harder to grasp. And so when I see reports that are in Python, when I see reports that are mathematically driven and algorithmically driven, I have a problem with it because it's not immediately understandable in the way that I am wired. And quite frankly, I don't have the patience to wait for the data scientist to explain to me what I want, or IT to come back to me with the answers that I need. Because if I'm in my brainwave, I need to get on with it right away. If I'm thinking about something and I feel creative with my hypothesis, I need to do it right away. And so to the right, this is what the Rulex platform looks like, which puts things into a way that everybody can understand. And I think it was Gartner that said that Rulex put clear box into black box, because it's all completely clear. Because being based on logic, therefore human logic, and not on mathematics, it can give you a detailed explanation of the events behind a specific result. So when you hover a specific number, it will tell you why Rulex came up with that number. Hence the manifestation of the hybrid model. I thought this made sense. This made sense. Mitch, ball to you.
Thanks very much, Rodrigo. I appreciate it. So now we're going to turn to Danilo Pereira, A2Go's Chief Analytics Officer and Data Scientist. Like Victor, Danilo is joining us from Brazil. He'll share his thinking on why some of the data was not producing the results anticipated and how A2Go solved that riddle. Danilo?
Thanks, Mitch. So, as the previous speakers already told, dynamic pricing is a complex solution. And even when a solution generates uplift in profit and revenue, measuring this can be a big challenge. So, in the first pilot that we did with Mobile, using different solutions than the current one. So, you used a black box solution. So, in other words, the end user could not go back to understand how the optimal prices and variations were determined. In the first solution, as Victor told, we also identified that cannibalization between products in the same category has a big impact on the profit. So basically, the idea to overcome the challenge was clustering products per category and then maximize the category profit as a whole. Besides this, we also applied an A/B test, considering that just 6 product categories to measure uplift. The pilot results of the first pilot seemed really promising from a business standpoint, and also with some statistical evidence of gain. However, we could not explain the reason that led us to change the price. So it was all based on data and math. So Mobile asked a solution that they could understand, and so they wanted to see the rules behind each price recommendation. And from a business perspective, it's really important to mitigate the risk of getting wrong price, do the bad data, or models are not fitted so good. And also to validate the solution before starting the pilot. Because at this point, you change your strategy. So the dynamic solution was then improved by partnering with Rulex, and then we developed a glass box solution that allowed Mob to understand how the price variation were determined. So as a result of Rulex platform and approach this problem, the glass box solution provided the confidence needed to start the pilot, even during the pandemic period. So it was really important point, mainly because the sales behavior changed a lot during the pandemic period. More than this, instead of considering just the few product categories as in the first pilot, we defined a cluster of categories concept. So we grouped many categories with similar behavior, and then this group allowed us to consider many more products and much more data. And generally, work with much more data, more confidence to measure the results. Again, the crucial point was the confidence provided by the glass box solution. We were able to understand how the models are determining the prices. So another important point is the model is every AI model that drives over the time requires some recalibration, retraining, adjustment with new data. So the new dynamic solution, dynamic price solution, the amount of data required to retrain, recalibrate the model require at least 10 days. So again, considering the pandemic period, it's a crucial point to get good results. So to summarize, to overcome the challenge and the hurdles found in the first pilot, we improved our solution using Rulex, developing a glass box solution to explain the recommendation, the price recommendation variations, as well to develop the clustering of categories concept. So in high level, basically, was this.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Danilo. This is a lot of great detail here, so thank you very much. Now we're going to turn to Stephen Hudson, A2Go's Chief Technology Officer, and he'll finish us out. Stephen?
Mitch, thank you. Thanks everyone for attending today. I think the most common thing I get asked as I exit conferences or I'm walking around on a project site by other execs who are curious about the initiative are, what are the lessons learned or rules for success that A2Go's observed that are different from typical projects? And, it's a natural question because they are a little bit of a different animal. I try to summarize it up. First and foremost, it's style and culture. If you're sitting with the CIO doing a portfolio review of all his projects where each team reports, you need to remember that unlike, say, just building a website, which is a relatively known animal, the team working on your AI ML initiative operate more like R&D. They can't always tell you exactly how long something will take, but they can tell you progress. And most importantly, all the ways they've learned that something doesn't work. And you heard Danilo mention and Victor mention over the course of the initiative with Mobley, it did take some trial, some error, and some experimentation to get to the right solution. The second, I would say, is to really focus on the human AI interface. I have seen occasions where the math, if you will, in the solution works very well. We know it works very well, but it's difficult to explain. And we think that's one of the key values of Rulex and the Mobley solution. It's the explainable AI that Federico was talking about. And then the last one, as you can imagine, a lot of, especially CIOs, are wondering if they have the right technology already in-house that they can leverage, which is a great question. Usually the answer is no. We even have some customers that went out prior to engaging us and bought 2 of the top off-the-shelf systems. The software is great, they just don't have the skills to use them. And in both cases, they would not have been able to get their result without the explainable AI from Rulex. Mitch, can you go to the next slide, please? So the other question I get asked at these conferences is, so how do we get started? You know, how do I know where in my organization I've got the best opportunity? Well, the best opportunity, meaning the one that would have the most financial benefits, is not where you should start. You need to start small, which, you know, crawl, walk, run, so that you can adjust and learn how to deliver initiatives like this, even when you're partnered up. You know, the second is choose wisely. You need something not just small, but as simple and representative for your business. And if you choose well, if you choose wisely, you'll have a shorter time, albeit to a smaller benefit, but then future initiatives and the larger benefits will come much more easily and much sooner. And then the last tip I give, not to pitch ourselves too much, whether it's us or someone else, partner early. Internal teams and yourself as a business, unless you are a software business, you just don't know what you don't know. There's too many different technologies, too many different sets of external data. You really need advice and counsel for someone who's quote, quote, in the biz on a daily basis. Okay,
Great.
Mitch, back to you.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks very much, Stephen. And you can find more info about the dynamic pricing solution called Price Rate AI on the Analytics2Go website. And so what I'd like to finish up with is we've got a couple minutes left for questions. And if we don't get to your questions, we will be happy to set up a call afterwards to answer those questions in detail. We'll also be sending everyone who's attending an email with our contact information, a link to this webinar, and an invitation to our August 5th virtual roundtable. And that roundtable will continue this discussion and go into more details about dynamic pricing for online sales. And that's more of a roundtable type discussion. You'll be able to participate directly. So if that sounds interesting, we'd love to welcome you to that roundtable in order to speak directly with our panelists then. So thank you again. So we did have a couple of questions that I want to put to the panelists. And so first, and this may, I think this is maybe kind of basic, but also an interesting question. Why wouldn't everyone want to have explainable AI? Is there an advantage to other approaches that aren't explainable over this? Anybody who has an opinion on that, I'd love to hear it.
I'd be happy to take that one, but I bet Federico.
Oh no, you go first. Don't worry. I can comment on that because it's not, none of my content. Go for it. Go for it.
Let's go both there. So AI in business, which most of us are, you know, we're working in office, white collar, knowledge workers. The subset we're interested in is machine learning, and most of us have to defend our decisions. There are other areas of AI like image recognition, where explaining isn't even relevant as long as the computer picked out the right picture. So I would say the importance is you have to defend your decisions in our business environment where you're doing pricing and forecasting.
These are very, very good points. These are very good points. There are other human circumstances in which, so don't forget that explainable AI is something very new. And it does not come from huge companies yet. The kind of explainable AI that actually works, not the ones that only work on a brochure, but the ones that actually work. And so you will see it more and more and more because a lot of people in a lot of sectors, from financial services to anything that has to do with supply chain or manufacturing, is doing it to manage their critical systems. It's a buzzword that you will see coming up a lot more, especially in the context of decision automation platforms rather than just AI for example, workflow programming. So watch this space. This is what I have to say, because it's growing a lot.
Excellent.
I'll add in
Well,
one last bit, Mitch, sorry.
Yep.
For all of you all reading the news, if you see any AI ML articles that worry about bias or discrimination, that's going to drive a lot of people to explainable AI as well.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's a very good point. Thank you very much. I was actually on a call with an analyst this morning that he was just telling me that the number of inquiries that they received quadrupled over the last 2 months. Quadrupled. So it's catching up. Very good point.
So there are actually lots more questions to ask, but we are out of time. So please save those questions for our virtual roundtable. We'll be sending out invitations if you haven't gotten one already. And we can continue this conversation in early August. Thank you all to our panelists for a very informative half hour. Thanks to all of our attendees for taking the time to join with us. And we will be in touch with you soon.
Thanks, Mitch. Thanks, everyone, for attending.